Peace to the Saints. I want to take out some time to share a story with you guys because so often, we as men don't have good friends. We should all be seeking better relationships or richer relationships. And the data actually suggests that we're in the loneliest of times, and I think technology largely leads to that. But I want to share a story that really highlights the beauty of our culture, Sasson culture. If any of you are like, Sasson culture, I'm unfamiliar, you go to peaceofthesaints.com, scroll to the bottom, click Marquetism, question mark, it's a URL at the bottom of peaceofthesaints.com. It'll give you some indication. But within our culture, we keep a respectful distance between ourselves and the women of other men, women who are spoken for. And even when we're out in the public or even in private, our women don't really interact with our friends and male family members unnecessarily. We generally are our speaker, we're the speaker for our woman, which is to say our woman is spoken for. And we really maintain that so that we respect, honor our women, we protect them, we are their shields. And also it prevents a lot of the messy, unfortunate things that you observe in the greater society. Infidelity, wandering eyes, suspicion, even where there's, sometimes you have things ruined because of suspicion, nothing even happened. And so we keep all of the messiness of the uncivilized world away from ourselves by our conduct, by abiding by our culture. So anyways, in our culture, we don't engage the women of other men. We try to avoid that, and we always make sure that we're open and transparent. So obviously my lady has encountered a number of saints because I host a lot of events, whether it's out in the world, around the world, or at Burton Plantation. I often have the guys come over to unplug and recharge or to work out. And there are a number of men, especially my confirmed saints, our leaders, our executives, our ambassador, whom I reference on a consistent basis. Is because we're friends, or I respect and admire them, or we're collaborating on a business item. And, I really need to get better at giving compliments and, expressing my admiration and respect to people directly. Some people, they might speak behind your back negatively. I tend to speak behind people's back positively, but I don't tell them enough, and I really should. So, hopefully this will serve as a public letter to some of those very honorable men whom I'm thankful to have in my life. But anyways, so there's a number of saints that, my lady has seen me pull aside or confide in or, strategize with or reference, or seen them come to the plantation and spend a significant amount of time. So anyways, she decided that she wanted to do something around my birthday to celebrate me and show thanks and appreciation for what I do for her and the community. And whether it's the SAS and the Saints, I put on a lot of events for you guys, or some of my philanthropic activities, which I don't discuss publicly because there's just so many mentally ill people on the internet. But anyway, she wanted to do something. And this is one of the most beautiful things about women, is that they're considerate, and your woman really will be and should be your number one supporter, ally, and asset. And someone like me, I'm never really going to take out the time to celebrate myself. And that's mostly because I'm just not impressed. I'm just mostly not impressed. I'm mostly like, you could have done better. Like, you got the bag, but you could have got a way bigger bag. You were slacking. You're out of shape. Like, you're not measuring up to my own standards. So I'm just not impressed, frankly. Every now and then I do get impressed. I'll be the first to let you know when I am impressed, but I'm mostly not. So anyways, she wanted to do something to celebrate me, and she wanted it to be a surprise. And surprise is a meaningful element in celebrating people. So I understand that. I observe this a lot. A surprise, definitely, a positive surprise can go really well. So she reaches out to one of the saints whom I had just recently hosted at my home. Good brother, very pure-hearted brother, and sweet, just like sweet, kind brother. very honorable young man. My mother, in fact, is always asking about this gentleman, which is very well respected among people who encounter him. So he was recently at the house we were shooting Burton Plantation. And so she had reached out to him because I tagged him on Instagram. She had reached out to him via Instagram, says, hey, I want to, now I'm shortening things, obviously. Like, hey, I want to throw a surprise birthday party for Marquette. And I know that you know this particular saint, and then this other particular saint. Marquette said, you know, this saint he trusts with his life. He ran his security in Vegas, and this other saint has helped expand the Assassin. You know, these are men that I know Marquette really trusts and respects. I saw him pull so-and-so aside to talk about a serious matter. So, you know, these are the guys I want to get involved. And so, you know, if the three of you guys would do me the favor, because obviously I don't want to be reaching out to men, I already like created this itinerary and this plan of, you know, I picked out a venue and, you know, we want to have a dinner and do this and have this kind of music and all of these things. And I'm going to pay for everything. I just need you guys to get everyone to RSVP. All you have to do is, you know, RSVP and let all the guys know so we can get the RSVPs. I want to get about 100 guys together so that we can like kind of like throw a surprise thing for Marquette. And and now mind you, I've been out traveling, and so she had the time and space to be able to arrange such a thing. And it's a beautiful instinct of the woman. You know, you can have good friends, and you know they'll work you like a dog and borrow stuff and never ever think to show thanks or appreciation, and they sincerely love and appreciate you, but don't think to show it, because men sometimes we can be insensitive or lack empathy or consideration. So anyways, she says that to the first saint and asks him like, hey, can you create a group chat on Instagram so that, you know, I can share information with you and the two other guys, and then you guys can in turn recruit everyone. And then so the first saint, who's a good brother, I love him, he creates the group, but they had to do a WhatsApp group because one of the guys didn't have an Instagram, or at least he didn't have an Instagram that, you know, other people were aware of. And so, and yeah, she is a good woman. And so anyways, they get in the WhatsApp group, and then just like a woman, you know, she shares like the longest itinerary on earth is my guess. You know, hey, I want to do this, and I planned this, and I reserved this, and I bought this, and we're going to do this. And then, I get 3 messages, you know, from each of these gentlemen, and screenshots of the conversation. Like, hey, your old lady sent this, I'm out. Next guy, hey, your old lady said, just want to give you a heads up, your old lady is talking about a surprise birthday party, just wanted you to know about this. And then the other saint reached out too. And it's really a beautiful thing. You know, it's beautiful that she wanted to do something for me. I really do appreciate that. And frankly, at this time in my life, I'm not impressed at all with myself. And so if I were to celebrate myself, like I don't feel like particularly like I mean, my life is good, but I feel like I could be doing much better. And I have some big plans. I don't know if it's so much that I could be doing much better, but it's that I have such exciting plans, high risk things that I'm going to execute in 2026 that I almost feel like maybe it's just that I'm so wrapped up with what I'm about to do. What I'm about to do is about to be so beautiful. So all of them reached out, hey, I just want to let you know your old lady said this to us. Screenshots. One of them said, hey, I'm out on this. The other one was like, hey, yeah, I don't, this is not Assassin culture. I just want to let you know. And that's a beautiful thing, because I know that I'm around men who are so honorable and so principle driven, and they stick to the script enough that it makes our lives and our culture predictable and safe in a good way. I know that I can always rely on these guys. I know that they're not going to go against the culture that we've all opted into, which is to say, bro said, why did the other guy ruin the surprise? Well, frankly, if it was a situation that, say, I signed off on, say they reached out to me and they said, hey, your lady wants to plan X, Y, and Z surprise, and I thought it was a good idea and the timing is good and everything. Now, it is a good idea, but, you know, the timing is not what I want. I got a lot of moving pieces right now. I don't need more. So if I said, oh yeah, this is perfect, perfect timing, perfect location, I know where I'm going to be in this time period. Because women, they plan things out. Yeah, my life has a level of complexity to where I cannot successfully plan out 2 months from today. I couldn't even tell you what country I'll be in 2 months from today. Literally, I don't know. I cannot say. So anyways, if I would have said, yeah, let's, that sounds good, collaborate with her, which I probably would be disinclined to say that. There are circumstances under which I'll say, yeah, collaborate with her. But if I'd have said that, then they would have collaborated with her, and I would have shown up like, oh my God, oh my God, and put on the show of being surprised and all that good stuff, so that she would be satisfied with her efforts, and I would of course enjoy the product of such, which would be getting to connect with men I respect and esteem, and to be honored by men that I find to be honorable. I'm a grown man. Like, I'm not an 8-year-old. Like, the surprise aspect is not so interesting to me. And also, I frankly don't like surprises, and it's not the safest thing to try to surprise someone like me. That's not a very safe thing, because I don't like surprises and I snap quick. So I don't recommend it. It's just not generally like a safe thing to surprise people like me. So it's just not worth it. But anyways, so they didn't ruin the surprise. They abided by our culture. And the beautiful thing when you're dealing with men versus women is women are very flexible and fluid in their definitions of words, in their morality, in their principles, in their decisions. They can always find an explanation. They can always find a way out. You're dealing with the right kind of men when they stick to the script. The biggest issue is when people don't stick to the script. For example, actually, I'm not even going to tell that other story, but the fact that they stuck to the script in a situation there was a lot of gray area, because truth be told, they could have easily thought to themselves, oh, you know what, damn, like, I don't want to ruin the surprise, right? That's a valid thought. I don't want to be the guy to ruin the surprise. These niggas cold-hearted. They're like, hey, bro, like, yeah, she trying to throw a surprise party. Busted. But they stuck to the script, and that's the key. Because one thing I can tell you guys is when times are challenging, when things go bad, when you're under pressure, when you're going to wish that people stuck to the script. And it's in the easy, simple moments that people show you through repeated behavior that they're the kind of guy, the kind of man who sticks to the script. So you don't ever want people to start thinking when it's not an appropriate time to think. It's not an appropriate time to innovate, to create, to decide, to edit, to modify. No, this is stick to the script time. And that's the reason that culture is important, especially a culture such as Sasson culture, which is a very rational culture. It's a universal culture that can apply over many geographies, religions, ethnicities, racial groups. It is a universal, proper culture that keeps you protected when you stick to it. So, well, Marquette, what could have happened? What could have gone wrong? Don't you trust your lady? In as much as a woman can be trusted, absolutely, 100%. She's very pure-hearted and kind in her intentions, comes from the perfect background that you would want for a woman that you're going to marry and procreate with, the very best background you could ever hope for, has the right nature, is introverted, doesn't like to keep up conversations with people in general, certainly not men, is very modest, and yeah, 100%. Don't you trust your guys? 1,000%, absolutely. I have no doubts at all. It's zero. So, well, then why wouldn't you? Because that's not the point. The point is you create a situation whereby you have 0% risk. We put risk at 0%. Well, why is that, Marquette? Because when you're dealing with your wife or the mother of your children, you deal with the potential of breaking a family or putting cracks in the foundation of a relationship. It's such an important thing that you should never allow anything to threaten it at all. Not even the possibilities. There's that. Then on the other side of it, When you look at your great relationships with these honorable men, you never want anything to threaten the relationship, the foundation of your relationship with these good, honorable men. And so within SaaS culture, we make every effort to put our risk level at zero, because some things are so valuable that it's not ever worth risking it at any level. You understand? There's no amount of risk that you're willing to embrace, because where you're already at in the relationship is such an ideal place. Like, for example, as I said, in 2026, I'm going to risk a tremendous amount of money to get to a better position, right? I'm going to risk something that is less valuable to get something that is more valuable. I'm going to risk money to get things that are more valuable. I'm going to invest money to get something that I value more than money. But in terms of a woman I build my family with and the friends that I have that I intend to have for a lifetime, there is nothing better than those two things. So there's nothing I would risk, or I would not risk those two things for anything else, because that's the ultimate thing in life. Your joys emanate from your relationships. It's not what, fancy hotel suite are you staying at? It's who are you there with? What company do you keep? It's not did you travel around the world? It's who did you travel with? Those are the things that color our experience. So as thinking men, when we abide by this culture, it's such a beautiful thing. And the most important piece is that it's predictable. So my old lady, I was talking to her today because they just ghosted her. Once they got in the group chat, they just ghosted her. They just told me like, hey, she's planning this. This is what she said. Gave a full report. And I appreciate that, because these guys are part of my security apparatus. And I'm also part of their security apparatus. We are our brother's keepers. And as our brother's keepers, we do need to make sure that we're maintaining militance and focus. But my old lady was saying, she was like, that really sucks. I was planning to do this, and I made this reservation, and you're gonna love the restaurant. They serve Caribbean food, and we're gonna play your albums, and we're gonna do this and that. I made so many plans, and I think that's all beautiful. It's really lovely. I trust at some point in time she'll get to execute on that. But she was talking to a girlfriend of hers, one of the Lady Saints, and she was saying, Lady Saint so-and-so said, yeah, of course they're going to ghost you. Of course they're going to not respond to you. You thought that was going to work? Yeah. You like Marquette just recently made a video stating that we don't engage the Lady Saints directly, the men. You don't engage them directly. So she's like, of course they're going to follow the culture, especially the guys that are high up. Of course, duh. And I appreciate that, because it shows that we've delivered the message very clearly. It's very easy to understand. And we're viewed as honorable, reliable men who are going to stick to the script no matter what. And that's the important piece. You stick to the script no matter what. There's certain things that we're not going to violate. We can predict how our kind is going to behave in a given scenario. Now, people out there in the world, who knows what the hell they're going to do? I couldn't call it. And this is how we engage and deal with each other. Now, if we're dealing with the wicked people out in the world, like, hey, these people don't live by any standard. They're uncivilized animals. Do what you will. You heard me? Yeah. But within this thing of ours, we have standards. Now, my old lady says, like, oh, like, are you displeased? No, I'm not displeased. You tried to do a good thing, and then they did a good thing as well. I see nothing wrong. And that's why we have the culture and our standards, and our culture protected us. I have no suspicion of anyone, and I don't have to, because everyone abided by the thing that keeps us safe. That's a beautiful thing. And if you had more of that, you'd have so much less infidelity. You'd have so much less suspicion of infidelity. There's the problem of actual infidelity. Then there's the problem of not even real infidelity. It's just suspicion. Do you know that suspicion and the human mind, especially the female mind, just the thought of something can destroy someone. Just the germ of a negative idea can destroy something. It can destroy, someone. So these are the things that we put in place, and it works, which is beautiful. It was really neat to see that working as it should. And so I do want to shout out to my good brothers within the SAS and all of you in particular, shout out to Nick, always been just very A1, loving, helpful, always one of those men that teaches me a lot about what it is to serve. A great leader is a great servant. A leader, a real leader is not trying to figure out how they can dictate to you or tell you what to do. A real leader is trying to figure out, what do you need? How can I help you get there? How can I serve you? I'll put you on my back. I'll carry you there. That's what leadership is. It's not about being above someone. It's actually you're willing to put them above you and carry them to where they need to be if it calls for it. And he's just always had that mentality. I really admire it. I try to learn from it. And shout out to Josiah, who excels in humility. I always see Josiah. Hell, I don't see Josiah doing the work, but I see the results of the work. It manifests in the strength of our organization, our many sections that we have around the world, the clear sense of what the job duty is for our executives who lead the different sections around the world. And Josiah is humble in as much as he does the work and doesn't talk about having done it. He doesn't talk about having put in, all these hours and this effort. And he's traveled around the country and met with so many different sections. And I'll see, people working out in New England. I'll see people working out in Texas, and Josiah is there in Texas. He's there in New England. And those are the kind of value adds that make the organization real and make it run. And he's never asked for credit for any of those things. Shout out to Jabri. One of the things that I really value about Jabri is his mind and the contribution of his creativity and him willing to, again, every one of us on our own is a leader. Every one of us on our own is a superstar. But the ability of someone to step outside of that and not always feel like they have to be in the center, or to have something that they know that is profitable or beneficial and say, hey, let me share this with you so that you can go earn $1, or you can go, advance your career, or let me give you a trade secret or a trick and tip. Shout out to Jabri, because I always tell you guys that being around smart people is like reading books. That's why I make every effort to keep weirdos away from me and to keep honorable people around me. And I've learned a lot from Jabri. And of course, we have a mutual benefit to our relationship. That's the only good relationship, especially among men. But I've always been, so impressed and astounded. And in many ways, we're similar. And also in a few ways, we're very different. Like, again, he's a bleeding edge kind of person. I'm only like bleeding edge in certain things. Like if there's like certain kinds of technology that I'm interested in, like I'm obsessed with eVTOLs right now. Electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, which is, mind you, not new. The military's had this technology for a very long time. But that I'm very interested in, and I dive into that. Jabri has a breadth of interest, and he'll dive in and learn a lot of things that are really applicable to business and share them, and I appreciate that. But these are some of my top guys, my executives, our leaders in our security apparatus, leaders in expanding the ISM. And I really appreciate the work that they do, even though I don't get to thank them enough. Also, while I'm here, honorable mention, I want to shout out to Kyle. And mind you, these gentlemen might not be watching this live stream. They may never see it. So if you see them, please do forward my compliments. It's always, there's nothing more beautiful coming off of someone's tongue than a compliment. But shout out to Kyle. I really admire his intellect. Different than just being smart, because there's a decent enough number of people who are smart, but to be smart and productive and to be a doer. I look at Kyle and see the level of intelligence, but also more importantly, the level of application is extraordinary. And again, these are all very generous people who give up their time, they give up their resources, and they do it just for the good of the assassin. One of our traditions is called for the good of the assassin. You say for the good of the assassin, and then you share something that's on your mind. And so much of what I see these guys do is for the good of the assassin. And most importantly, they're always thinking, like they're using their brains. And trying to figure out, well, how does this benefit other people? Like, how can I do Marquetta solid? None of these guys are people who are coming to me with requests. These people are coming to me with offers, and I appreciate that because so many people come to me with requests. Like, that's mostly what I get is just request after request after request. So shout out to Kyle. Also shout out to Chris, because Chris is Chris in Sasson, Los Angeles. Chris is this man is very, very proactive. And I don't know if Chris is an introvert or an extrovert. I'd have to ask him. I can only assume he's an extrovert. But you know what he's doing in Los Angeles, and more importantly, what he's doing org-wide in terms of the touch points and the presence. I think it'll benefit him greatly. It'll also benefit the organization, and he's showing what the work looks like. You got to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no substitute for putting in the work. You can say that you love something or you support something, but putting in the work is something different. And I think Chris does such a good job that the men that are in his section, whether you're talking about confirmed guys like Irvin or guys, our young guys like Jonathan, is that they observe the example up close and the consistency of it. And it's not real till it's consistent. And then they perform as well. And that's what we're here for. We're a familial organization. We're a patriarchal organization. We're an elite organization. And we want all of our youngins to be like their old heads. You know, we want our mature men to be intelligent and productive and kind and moral. And we want our young men to follow that example. And we want to continue having that bleed throughout our entire culture and spread that to the world. And so he's been a really good example of that. Someone writes, what is the ism? Oh man, yeah, no, you definitely knew around here. We welcome you to this thing of ours. Marquetism is a philosophy that leads to prosperity and happiness. It is a very clear, simple philosophy that is utilized by the Sasson, which is a group of elite men and women around the world who are pursuing excellence in health, wealth, and relationships. And this group of people are of all of the racial groups, all of the religions, all of the nationalities, and we come together on a explicit set of values. And you can find that elaborated on if you go to peaceofthesaints.com. You scroll to the bottom, there's a hyperlink that says Marquetism ? So it's essentially a philosophy, a way of life. Thank you for your question. Shout out to Kirsten, writes, here to soak up the ism, Peace of the Saints. I actually forgot to put the banner on. Oh, no, I didn't. The banner's right there. If anyone has any comments, questions, I'll give you guys a little bit of time before I hop off. You can send them in via Venmo or PayPal there, and then I will carry on. This man writes, it's good, still you extracted the intention of appreciation even though you didn't care for the surprise element. The heart of the matter was received whether you experienced it or not. Yeah, absolutely. He writes, so for you it was the best case scenario. You got the appreciation and reassurance that no one close is a snake willing to have a private, prolonged conversation with you. It's actually not about women or a woman or my woman, because frankly, I don't think anyone would do that. I don't think anyone would do that. All of these guys have a very easy time with women. It was actually more so just about, it just revalidates our culture, the fact that our culture is clear, that we're able to follow it because it's clear. It doubles down on the fact that these men have exemplary character. And that's more so what it's about. It had nearly nothing to do with a woman, my woman, or women. Because there's really like nearly no percentage chance that there was anything improper. It was just more so about making sure that our structures are in place, because our culture is going to protect us from so many things greater than that. Um, and that's good. And that's really good. So yeah, I mean, that was one small aspect of it. But I never had any suspicion that anyone, as you put it, would be a snake. May I acknowledge Keon comes in via PayPal. He writes, "Peace to the Saints. Appreciate you." Shout out to the two folks who support the work. I appreciate you. And shout out to the many members who are watching. Those of you who are members at peacetothesaints.com, I appreciate you, of course. If you've not joined this thing of ours, we welcome you warmly. And, we're actually doing the work. I saw a reel earlier today with Ja Rule, of all people. And Ja Rule was talking about, he's like, when you go to prison, you can see that, in our culture, we don't really take care of each other because, like, you got to have people from the outside send you stuff, and you can see a lot of guys ain't getting sent nothing, so we got to fix that. Well, we hear this kind of talk a lot about fixing this or that in culture. Those are babblers. Ja Rule's not going to do anything to improve culture or to create culture. He'll complain, he'll observe, but he's not going to do anything. So what we've decided to actively do is to course correct. The human family, if you will, in many societies it's going down the wrong path. For example, I mentioned lies. I mean, the lies are just so plentiful and overwhelming, but I'll give you an example. A lot of Muslims follow me, and it makes perfect sense. I've made a lot of commentary on the Deen of Islam. I've made a lot of commentary on certain Islamic scholars. I have a lot of personal relationships with famous Islamic scholars. And so I have a lot of Muslim fans, and sometimes they'll say things like, "Oh, Islam solves this problem, brother." It's like, first off, I'm not your brother. If you're not a member of this thing of ours, I'm not your brother. And number two, Islam doesn't solve these things because I've traveled widely in Muslim countries, more than really anyone. And I observe these problems are persistent, and in some cases, Muslim countries have more of a problem. You might look at sexual deviance, for example, which is not itself just a problem. It creates other problems. It creates passing of deadly sexual diseases at a much higher rate. It creates broken families. And religion is supposed to protect you from that, but it doesn't. There was one young man years ago, this is before like the certain political events were popular in the mainstream. There's a young man, he's an Israeli. I forget what you call the Caucasians one, but he's a Caucasian Israeli. And he called into the show. Actually, he took a consultation first. But in short, he expressed that his father, who is a practicing Jew, turned out to be a Skittle guzzler. And he was asking me, he's like, "Marquette, should I still love him?" And I thought that was a very interesting and important question. And I told him, "No, you can love people without accepting what they do. And if you reject what he does, and I think it's valid to reject what he does, then you can reject what he does, not accept what he does, and still love him." And some people you love from a distance. Some people you love, but you never call them, or you never accept their phone call, but you love them. Our relationships may evolve as time goes on, and the truth is that because we share blood with someone doesn't make them a good person. You could have a mother or father, and they might not be a good person. You could have a child. They may not be a good person. And in all likelihood, it's probably because of you, but maybe they were wired a little differently. But the truth is that it doesn't make us any better or any more upright to be indiscriminate in whom we show love, affection, and favor to. It is probably the best of us who are discriminating in whom we choose to be around and whom we choose to give our time to, which is of great value. So you should be very thoughtful about the people that you excommunicate, because when you keep the pool of you keep your environment pure, only good things can come out of it. When you have impurities in your environment, you make yourself susceptible to negative influence and to poison. But I say that to say this. You got the young man in Israel whose father is supposed to be a practicing Orthodox Jew, and he succumbed to whatever drove him to those kind of perverse behaviors while having a whole wife and multiple children. Then you have in Afghanistan, they have a whole culture of dancing boys and all kinds of perversion, which is, mixes in various forms of sexual deviance. Then you have, you got the Catholic Church. You can't go in the confessional box without coming out there without having a pain in the ASS. So the religions haven't taken care of this. They're a harbor for this kind of activity in many cases, unfortunately. Our political establishment and our entertainment establishment, the Hollywood elite and the Epstein Island boys, show that the leaders in the society are not quite leaders and they're not upright. So Marquetism seeks to fill in the gaps where those religions, philosophies, lifeways, political ideologies have failed miserably. And it is through starting with a base of honesty and secondly accountability that we're able to operate. You see, the problem is that anyone can say that they're a Christian because there's nothing, you can't get kicked out of it. Anyone can say you're a Muslim because you can't get kicked out of it. No one can say they're a saint and engage in certain behaviors because we will excommunicate them and it will be known that they are in fact not one of us. We have a member directory. We can see who is a current active member. We will remove you and excommunicate you. You can't even claim to be one of us. So that means that there's a standard and it's enforced and there's accountability. And because all of our behavioral expectations are identified, people can't pretend to be like us. They can't say that they're like us because it'll be very clear in their behaviors. So we're making an improvement on certain things that we all should hold as ideals, but we're falling short on achieving it. Shout out to Jalen, comes in by Venmo. He writes, "Peace of Saints. I don't have much right now, but money is infinite. Support." It is. That's a beautiful thing. That's why it's my favorite thing to mess up. If I have to mess up something, I'd rather mess up a bag than mess up a good relationship. It's one of the few things of value that you can actually replace. Like if you lose an arm, you're done. But if you lose a stack of money, $100,000, $1 million, you can just make more money. You don't even have to get it back. You don't have to recover the money you lost. You can just make new money. It's really a blessing, honestly. Shout out to Jalen, but he's also referencing that song, No Money. I think it's called No Money, No Worries. It's on the new album, The Saint and the Sinner, reggae album, super fire. It's called Marquetism. You can find it anywhere you stream music. Shout out to Wayne. He writes, "Peace of Saints Tuition." Appreciate you. Shout out to the real ones. Fantastic. Ladies and saints, it's been a pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you all. Until next time, peace of the saints.